Hi, it's Konya, co-CSO at SYLVAIN. This week, my coworker Kristy Jensen and I are taking over Critical Nonsense. I had published a perspective earlier this summer on the state of youth, and it explored how a younger generation is coping with a turbulent world and asking how we as business leaders can help them through an early life crisis. So without further ado, here's Kristy Jensen with a listening edition of The State of Youth, a new paradigm for growing up.
The State of Youth, a New Paradigm for Growing Up, written by Konya, read by Kristy Jensen. I've always seen youthful folly as healthy grounds for boundary testing and self-exploration. So, I was irked when I read that Gen Z is quite conservative in their youthful dalliances. From drinking to having sex, staying out late, or getting into trouble, they're not exploring these playful risks or testing boundaries in the same ways as generations past. While Gen Z isn't rebelling in conventional ways, they are repelling the status quo in their own distinct manner. And it's forcing them to speed past the much-needed days of youthful play and dreaming, resulting in an identity crisis at an even earlier milestone. Similar to Gen Z, the silent generation, who birthed the term midlife crisis, was also conservative in youth. The term entered the popular zeitgeist in 1965, when psychoanalyst Elliot Jacques wrote about an unsettling feeling of mortality for this generation who had also sped toward responsible adulthood. The phenomenon was driven by an expectation for where I should be in life. Decades later, we're seeing the quarter-life crisis describe anxieties about where I'm going. Both crises stem from the insecurities of your expectations not matching your day-to-day life. In a milestone society geared toward achievements, is it possible to avoid insecurities around unmet expectations? Has the watchful eye of smartphones made younger generations so self-aware that they're missing out on the real self-understanding that comes with experimentation in the awkward years? As a result, are they on their way to an even bigger reckoning than previous generations? And for the consideration of business leaders today, are we complicit in creating that reckoning? We're witnessing the annihilation of youth as we once knew it. The innocent, dreamlike quality of youth appears to be dwindling, reshaping into something shorter-lived and rife with repercussions. But it shouldn't come as a surprise. Gen Z has grown up amidst upheavals, like the death of the American dream, climate chaos, the devaluation of higher education, and a volatile socioeconomic landscape. Now, they confront a cost of living crisis, the aftermath of a global pandemic, and the rise of AI and the unpredictable effects it may have on career paths and life trajectories. In addition, their media exposure early in life and the impression it leaves on them is unprecedented. Brands have a significant role in pushing a sanitized image of youth that erases the awkward phase and pushes perceptions of perfection. We see this in our feeds on a daily basis, so much so that Surgeon General Vivek H. Murthy thinks social media should come with a warning label on it, like prescription medications. Both their exposure to these feeds and the hyper self-awareness it causes are limiting the natural exploration and self-understanding enjoyed and needed in generations past. The redefinition of youth could change our paradigm for growing up. Like Gen Z, the silent generation, originators of the midlife crisis, also grew up in turbulent times. They were shaped by the Depression's scarcity and the anxieties of World War II. They sought stability and conformity, marrying and starting families earlier than any generation. Ironically, today these standards of conformity have become a measure of maturity. Younger generations are often criticized for not growing up because many aren't finishing paid education, leaving home, getting married, buying a house, and having children. But by what standard are these the markers of maturity? Would it be mature to aim for traditional milestones of a life they can't count on? There's a danger in the darkness this generation confronts. In her book Generations, Dr. Jean Twenge shows that when faced with adversity, we're less likely to feel a sense of control with our own life path, resulting in weaker aspirations and smaller dreams. She cites studies that show the outlook of high school graduates has plummeted over the past decade, with diminished expectations of degrees, job opportunities, and salaries, expecting to achieve less than their parents. Gen Z hasn't just grown up cautious, but weary, surrounded by a distrust that breeds pessimism. The true danger in this is the possibility of a disempowered mindset that can lead to worse life outcomes. In the face of turbulence, Gen Z and the brands that surround them must find new routes to resilience. While many criticize Gen Z, they're maturing in ways that are less traditional and recognizable, but perhaps more intentional and well-rounded. Distrusting of institutions, many are embracing entrepreneurship, educating themselves online, pursuing hybrid careers, and experimenting in their social lives, especially with things like dating and relationship structures. Gen Z adults are also highly politically active, engaging in online political activities, volunteering, and attending political rallies at similar or higher rates than older Americans. And at a young age, they prioritize self-care routines such as regular therapy and intentional sleep routines. Despite these signs of growth, Twang's conclusions haunt me. How will this generation manage the pessimism breeding in their early lives? If we are to learn from past generations and the moments of crisis that come for all of us, we should recognize that resilience is not easy. Pushing past uncertainty requires strength, and younger generations will need support. It's our responsibility to help them. How can business leaders and brands connect with and propel Gen Z? Number 1, fuel resolve. It is no coincidence that purpose brands have become so popular in our time of turbulence. A study from Cornell University shows that a sense of purpose can help us see challenges differently, overcome them with more ease, and increase resilience in difficult times. Brands like the New York Times, that has steadily sought its mission for 170 years, or e.l.f. makeup, that is currently changing the board game, inspire consumers to find resilience in their beliefs. Number 2, celebrate consistency. Nothing will kill motivation faster than an overfocus on outcomes. Validating consistency and effort rather than a specific end state can drive resilience and excellence. Brands like Peloton and Duolingo reward users for hitting their 5th class or a weekly streak. Rather than focus on how many miles they biked or answers they got right, how has your consumer stuck to it, habitualized their practice, or added to their 10,000 hours? Number 3, inspire optimism. In pessimistic times, glimmers of hope become more important than we recognize. Barbie's Dream Gap project does this well by inspiring confidence in young girls to pursue their dreams, combating self-doubt early. As Babe Ruth once said, never let the fear of striking out get in your way. Number 4, create space for iteration. No one gets it right the first time. Platforms like TikTok and Roblox encourage exploration and iteration, empowering users to experiment, build skills, and confidence. ClassPass encourages workout exploration through variety and the ability to try things out. This space to play and iterate is key to finding and becoming who we want to be. Brands and businesses have a responsibility to leverage their might in service of our youth. How will you empower this generation to reclaim their freedom? Thanks to Konya for her thinking and writing, Shannon Garrity for her support in research and content development, Xingjuan Hu for his illustrations that brought the original piece to life, Natalie Berry for her content editing help along the way, Alex Contel for always making sure our audio is on point, Les Jacobs for keeping us all on track, and me, Kristy Jensen, the voice who made it possible today. Check out our Progress Report newsletter, where this piece was first published, at progressbysylvain.co. And of course, subscribe to Critical Nonsense wherever you listen to podcasts.